the end of the middle of May.
Yep.
In Hartford in July.
Well, no,
Hang on.
we're close enough, I think. Okay, we're opening up the planning board meeting February 12th. We're being televised by Chelmsford Telemedia. And the first thing on our agenda is administrative review for off-TOBIN Road request for endorsement for Mylars, and I need to step out on this one. I'll let Henry take over.
Okay.
Evan, do we have anything new to add with this or
I-
anything, or?
Mr. Chair, I have a letter to read,
Sure.
which goes something like this. This is subject to off-Tobin Ave 5-lot subdivision. Dear members, this office has reviewed the site plans by Hancock Associates consisting of 7 sheets dated September 9th, 2018, revised through December 10th, 2019, and a stormwater data report dated August 20th, 2019, revised through December 10th, 2019. This office's concerns have been met sufficiently and the plans have been revised accordingly. We recommend endorsement of the Mylars. If you have any questions, please contact this office at 978-250-5228. Sincerely, Christina Papadopoulos.
Nothing else?
That's it.
Anything else to add to that, Evan?
No, just looking for a vote.
All right.
Move that we proceed with endorsement of the Mylars.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Yeah, pass this back to Evan and he can file it.
Okay.
All right. There we go. The next one up, 40 SWAIN Road. Planning Board 2017-16, minor modification extension request.
Let's see. How's that? Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Parlon. I'm with BWC Stony Brook. Thank you for hearing me tonight. Evan, thank you for your help in having us heard so expeditiously. It's really appreciated. In 2017, BWC Stony Brook permitted the solar array on the SWAIN Road landfill. And I'm here tonight to provide a brief update, a request for the permit extension, as well as a minor modification. The update is just that the project has been progressing through its stages with the utility company, and we plan to submit for a building permit in the next 2 to 3 months. As far as the extension goes, it just happened to fall that the special permit was granted in February of 2018. So we were hoping to get an extension. We asked for 1 year, but again, plan on filing for a building permit in the next 2 to 3 months. And then I can answer any questions about that, but other than that, the minor modification, I can go through what that entails.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you could please scroll down just one more page here. Nope, I guess back up then. Just to the site plan that has the design on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Just
Which one? Down here?
this one
Yeah.
down here.
That is
Computer literacy.
He has to go home and get his kid.
Ah, there we go.
I know what that's like.
So this project was permitted in 2018. So when it was permitted, solar panels weren't quite as efficient as they are today. So one thing that entails is just the module count has not been changed. None of the positioning or fence line has been changed. We were just proposing an additional or an expanded pad for energy storage, and the modules will now be a higher capacity, but the footprint and all of those features remain the same.
That sounds simple enough.
Yep.
You're still within the same layout, the
Yep.
fence there, that's, could
Exactly.
be fine, I think.
Cool. Just out of curiosity, what's the projected power output of this thing on a bright sunny day?
So with the 400 watt modules, we have the DC size, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down just a little bit, but it's about 1.5 megawatts.
1.5
DC.
meg, okay.
Yeah, and then each kilowatt is expected to produce about 1,300 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions?
Simple enough.
Have at it.
I would move that we grant the minor modification and also grant the one-year extension on the permits issued up to date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. 235 Littleton Road, review of the decision and sign the decision. Everybody kind of read it and looked over it?
I wasn't here, so I can't.
Okay. Everybody good with it?
The only question I had is, when the last development activity at this location was submitted, the property that it was on was separated out. Is this property also being separated out, or will it be a second building on the same property?
The plans show the new building on the same lot as the older structure. The one that you approved a couple of years ago is
Right.
on its own.
Is
lot.
on its own property, so I
Has to
wasn't
be too,
dreaming.
right? 'Cause it's,
Okay.
you enter in through the same way, or
It didn't have to be.
Yeah,
That's just what
the
the,
same, one entrance, though?
correct.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
yeah,
So this new building will need a new address.
yeah,
Okay.
all right. No other issues.
Okay.
Anybody
Anybody else?
Well, I looked it over. Of course, we've heard about it already. I would move that we make a finding of applicability. I believe
we
that's what's
already
called for.
did.
And you want to add in for the signing of this, or you don't have to?
Yeah, I think that's what you're voting on tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Signing,
signing,
okay.
okay,
We
yeah, I
already
guess we already.
voted on
Motion and a
applicability.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good enough.
Who seconded that?
Tim, you want me to sign this one here, Evan, or we gotta do it?
No,
on
I'll be
my
come
own?
in.
Okay,
Evan, I didn't.
Yep.
Henry was out. All right, I get that out of the way. 9 Acton Road, review and sign the decision on 9 Acton Road. Everybody read that and then got a comment on that one?
I have a comment. I had sent in some minor edits to Evan, which he incorporated. However, I also had a comment in there which he didn't incorporate, and I would ask the board that it be incorporated. Specifically under findings, number 1, to delete the second sentence. I would also like to delete the last 3.
Finding.
Did you find it? It's on the second page.
Oh, it's on the back.
You're deleting the comment regarding the density bonuses.
I'm deleting the comment regarding the density bonuses because
Haven't discussed it.
well, we haven't seen any evidence that it's actually fronting Beaver Brook, and until such time as we do, I don't think it's appropriate to establish an expectation of density bonuses because of fronting Beaver Brook.
Okay.
Okay, because that's what that specific clause is about, is properties that are specifically fronting Beaver Brook.
And if they come back to us
Yeah,
proving.
Yeah, if they come
Then we're
back
fine-
to
then we're
us
fine
with,
with it.
with
Okay.
surveys and a GIS modification that shows that it actually is on the brook, by all means, we evaluate it as part of the application, but
Yeah.
I don't think this is the place that we should establish that expectation.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
I'd also like to delete the last three words in the last sentence, so that it simply says, has been presented to the board based upon the established baseline, period.
Okay,
Okay? And that's all I have.
all right. Anybody else got anything on this one?
I don't think it changes the meaning
No,
substantially, but
I don't think so.
I don't think it changes it at all. Okay,
it actually does because there were edits to the first sentence.
okay, that I
Yeah.
missed, okay.
So
Why,
this is just
why
a
is the
follow-up on
address
those edits.
13 and not 9?
13 appears to be the official address. Somewhere along the line, it was
Yeah.
referred to as 9 Acton. If you go to the town's GIS, it is 13.
It's actually listed as 13.
I think we all know what it is. All right. I guess it falls on me again?
There you
Yep.
go. You're up.
Okay, I move that we make a finding of applicability for the VCOD for the property at 9 Acton Road, AKA 13 Acton Road.
As
Second.
described in,
As described in the,
in the edited version of
Yes.
the
yeah,
findings.
with
With all, yeah.
all
We got
edits.
a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
That's right, so we got that one out of the way.
That's good.
Next one up is 44 Central Square, 1 Billerica Road. Planning Board 2020-03, VCOD applicability
Want
finding.
to sign your name?
Why do we have a document under this that's titled SWAIN Solar?
It's just an accident.
Katie, this is the Oddfellows building, right? Yes. I have a conflict
Okay.
on this one. So I gotta sit out, Evan.
It's a SWAIN Road
Oh, it's just in there.
document that
Okay.
should be
Okay.
part of that
Oh, that's-
application.
yeah, that's, it's not part of this one.
Following- No, it's not part of this one,
Let's see here.
or at least I would expect it's not part of this one.
I didn't get a chance to look at this one. So this is the 3 buildings, right?
Yeah.
On the screens?
We got 1 screen.
There you go.
All right, we're good to go.
I get that, but I can't get the boards and committees to get out. Oh, you're in TOC now.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson. I'm tonight here on behalf of 3 different parties. So Americal Management, who owns the property where the Oddfellows and Fisk building sits today, in the Santander Bank in the parking lot, and also Stonegate Construction and Oddfellows Project LLC, which you'll get to meet. Everybody's just starting to show up now. I'm here tonight with the applicants. Certainly Ben Swenson from Americal is not here tonight, where he resides in California. But Ali is here, who you all know is the owner of Fishbones Restaurant. His partner is Human Baini, who is not here this evening. But he will be purchasing the rights to redevelop the Oddfellows building. And then Jay Finnegan is here tonight with Alex Cates they will be purchasing the Fisk House and also the rights to the rear parking lot on this lot to develop a multifamily building. You saw us quite some time ago. We were here, we were at a large informal all boards meeting that we met at the police station, and I was able to bring you through the conceptual project. This project has been in the works for about 4 years on my end, but Americal Management has been working on this site for about 20 years. This year, they were finally able to renegotiate the lease with Santander Bank. Until now, Santander has controlled the entire property, even though they were the owners of the property. And their lease with Santander Bank as of June 30th will be just for the area around their building and 14 parking spaces. And the rest of the property will then finally be released to Americal to look at potential redevelopment options. Earlier last year, it came to Americal. Ben Swenson from Americal was here, and some of the other owners of Americal were here. And we discussed the ongoing redevelopment or plans for this site, and it became evident that it would be in the best interest of both the owner and the town of Chelmsford if some local, essentially local developers, local purveyors were brought into the project to create the redevelopment project. And at that point, Americal was able to start meeting with different developers. Developers that we have here tonight, who I introduced earlier, were chosen to be on the team moving forward. With that, we're here tonight with a very similar project to the one that you saw in the fall. We are looking at renovating the Fisk House. The Fisk House would be renovated into office space. We are looking to take the bump out on the back of the Fisk House off to provide an ADA lift. We do not have plans for the Fisk House as of yet, but those will be being developed as we move towards site plan approval. Also, the outbuilding, the accessory structure to the rear of the Fisk House, we would like to remove from the property. We haven't yet filed for demolition of that building, but we will be filing for demolition with the Historical Commission. The Santander Bank remains in place. The Oddfellows building is going to be redeveloped, and I'm going to show you some pictures of how it's going to be redeveloped. But the Oddfellows building is looking to be redeveloped with a first floor restaurant, a 100-seat restaurant that Ali would like to open in this location. And the upper 2 floors above the restaurant would be apartments. So we're looking at 8 one-bedroom apartments to be on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the current Oddfellows building. And then what we'd like to do is in the back rear parking lot is propose essentially another grist mill building, but it's evolved quite a bit since you saw it in the fall. And that's because we've worked very closely with the Historic District Commission, where this property is mostly within the Historic District, and we received approval or appropriateness from them last Monday night for both the Oddfellows building and the multifamily building. So the multifamily building has changed pretty substantially since you last saw it. This is just a picture of, this is essentially along the lines of the presentation I did for Historic District. So this is the location of the Historic District. You can see towards the back of the property, actually about a third of the multifamily building is outside. This is the Historic District line. It cuts directly from this property back to the brook. And it's funny when you read the materials that created the Historic District, essentially they were looking to wholly capture the Fisk House and protect the Fisk House. So if you read the information leading up to the town meeting that developed the Historic District itself, the property to the south and the Oddfellows building were both included for the sole purpose of protecting the Fisk House, which is pretty interesting. And then essentially they took a straight line to the river. And that's exactly pretty much the way it says in that document. These are pictures of the past and today for the Oddfellows building. What we're looking at doing by creating a restaurant on the first floor is really bringing it back to that building, closer to the buildings that you see of old, which is where the storefronts existed. This is today's Oddfellows building. These are architectural renderings as approved by the Historic District as to what we're proposing to do. So we're proposing to bring it back. Bring those large windows back along the frontage for the restaurant. The front door will remain as a fire access for the restaurant, but it won't be the main access because it's really difficult to make that access handicapped accessible and maintain the character of the center of town by adding a ramp. So what we're doing here is we're creating a doorway. There's also a doorway if you walk in to the right, and that would lead you up to the apartments. Granite steps in the front, hardy plank siding, really kind of bringing us back to the way the building looked quite some time ago. That's just a replication of a similar door that we're looking to do on the front. This is the rear of the building, would have a door that would go into the restaurant service space and also a door that would go up to the apartments. This is kind of the more exciting elevation because this would be now the main entrance to the building. And so to create handicapped accessibility, to create accessibility close to the new door, and to be able to not affect the frontage of this building, we've created a front door on the side of the building. So this is the side that actually faces the Fisk House. This would be the main entry to the restaurant, and the sign band, as previously shown on earlier drawings, would wrap around to the side here. The proposal is to create a sign band similar to old with the gooseneck lighting, which will have all of those details as we move forward. But this would provide a ramp both from the center of town, so you could walk up the sidewalk that's there today and ramp up to the side elevation here. It also provides a patio space for outdoor eating, and then as you go to the back of the building, it provides you stairs down to the rear parking lot. But this is going to be adjacent to the new accessible parking. This is the other side of the building where I guess people call it the addition is on. This will also be 2 dining rooms that would overlook Beaver Brook. This is just a conceptual interior of the first floor of the building. Moving towards to the back of the building, one of the things that we wanted to do was really kind of stress where the location of the multifamily building is. There's been a lot of concern about view shed, and I have a lot of pictures to show you where I'm bringing you through that. I'm probably going a little overboard for applicability, but since we kind of already had it done, I figured it's necessary to get as much information out as possible. So in this drawing, This is the new structure here. This is the historic district line here. This building is actually in this location also. You just can't, it wasn't updated on your GIS yet, and I didn't move it over there. So essentially, the new building is really tucked all the way back into the back parking lot, within the limits of work, within the limits of pavement that are there today. And it's actually just about the same distance off of Central Square, Boston Road, as the grist mill is. It's actually pretty much exactly the same distance as the grist mill is from the road. It's also about 220 feet from Billerica Road and behind all of those buildings. And we did that on purpose. This is where we started. Don't get too excited about this. We actually have changed this quite substantially since this picture. This is where we started. This is the grist mill. This is what we showed you in the fall. But we had a lot of feedback from the historic district. We worked with them for, I believe last Monday was the 5th meeting. So we did a bunch of informal meetings with them just to get some feedback, figure out where we needed to get to before we filed for appropriateness. So this is just pulling from some of the buildings around the center of town. So we changed it out to have all horizontal siding. And the horizontal siding will be hardy plank. It's not allowed to be vinyl because it's partially within the historic district. Also, shutters were added to the building. And you can see some of these things throughout essentially the center of town. We also added corbels around the top of the entire building that we're proposing. We also added wider corner boards to the proposed building. And you can see some of these elements throughout the center of town. So when you really started to look at what they were asking for to be changed on the building, it started to kind of pull in different elements from the remainder of the historic district. Certainly the church. We actually changed the front entry from a flat roof to a peaked roof. This is another building that's obviously going to be right next to us. So again, the shutters and mullions, I believe they're called, all the way to the bottom of the windows. So that's something we had also changed. In the stone church across the street, we actually have a stone facade on the front of the building at the entry, which the HDC liked because it was kind of pulling from other elements. So again, the stone element of right across the street. This is the building that was approved by the Historic District Commission. So you can tell it's pretty substantially changed, and it's kind of bright on this screen here, but essentially what we've done is it's all horizontal siding, all light in color. Crossbars in the windows go all the way to the bottom. There's shutters on the protruding sides. There's peaked roof. There's screening on the top of the roof. There's the stone that runs up the center. What's different about this building than the grist mill, though, is we are in the floodplain. So the first floor, or the garage parking, which is underground on the grist mill, which you see from the Cushing Place side of it, you will see. So this first floor, this is actually our parking garage. And that's because the floodwaters have to be able to come up outside of Beaver Brook and in the 100-year event, 100-year floodplain, be able to move into the garage space. So essentially the 4 floors of living is over that. So the view shed from Cushing Place is essentially the same view shed, although lower in the ground, that you would see here as you drove past the Odd Fellows building and looked 200 feet to the back of the site. This building is very similar to the grist mill. Again, this is the garage end here, which you would see. We positioned it in such a way so that the view shed was really limited, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about what I mean by that, but essentially having it parallel to the brook, we're able to really kind of cut down on the view shed. Also, the property is 7 feet lower at the back of the site than it is from Boston Road, or the center of town. So it's actually 7 feet lower than in front of the Odd Fellows building. It's actually 13 feet lower than in front of the Santander building. So that first floor is essentially lower than the center of town, even though we can't bury it because we're within the floodplain. We did do a balloon test on a very cold and very windy day and had a site visit the next day. Mike Walsh was able to join us. We did take as many pictures as we could before the second balloon hit a tree and burst. You can kind of see it in some of these pictures throughout the center of town. Here, we were only able to get it to about 3.5 feet. Here, this is looking from Billerica Road. You can see it here. Again, here. Here, you can see it just behind. And we ended up placing it essentially at the front door, because every time we tried to place it at the end of the building, it was too close to a tree in the landscaping. The first one we put up immediately hit the tree and burst. So here, again, coming around to the Fisk, you can see it through the trees here. across the center of town. You can kind of see it through the tree here and here. But even better to show you kind of for view shed is the grist mill. The grist mill itself is essentially the same distance off the street as our proposed building would be on the other side of the road, except this building actually sits 10 feet higher than our building because it's 10 feet higher on the landscape. So this is the end of the building, the same end of the building that you would see looking down past. If you were to catch a glimpse between Oddfellows and Fisk driving through the center of town and were able to swing your head to the right really quickly, you would see the garage end of the building, which is essentially what you see at Gristmill, up Cushing Place. And it's essentially the same distance from the center of town as the new building is. And just to show view sheds, I mean, I don't know if any of you remember the balloon test we did here, but it was a really good representation of where this corner was. This is right across from Artisans Exchange. You can see the corner of the building. And this is the 5 stories. So you see the full 5 stories on this side. So this is basically across the pedestrian walkway. So you can catch it out of the corner. This is the garage end. This is as you start to walk towards Jack Hanley's building, so you can catch the corner of the building. I just zoomed back a little bit. I'm standing on the sidewalk on the other side of the road. So you can see these are 2.5 stories here. This is 1.5 stories here. You can catch the corner. And gosh, the minute you're in front of Jack's building, it disappears. You can't even see the top of it. It's just completely gone. Again, as you continue to move up towards Fisk, you can kind of, with the leaves off the trees, you can kind of catch the roof peak. But our building's going to be 10 feet lower, actually, in the ground versus this side because of the location on the topography. And then you get up towards in front of Fisk, you can kind of catch it out of the corner of your eye right there. So very similar to the view shed. And the view sheds are really going to be this here. There's a little bit of a wooded area, and this is the brick building that I showed you on BILLERICA Road, which is actually 3.5 stories in the back. And we're actually lower than that building. This is Oddfellows, which is right up against the road. This is Fisk House, which actually sits up, I believe this elevation is 141, and we're 123 here. So pretty substantially higher. So the view shed here, you're going to catch it as you go between, with this building being gone, between Santander and Fisk. If you're looking back this way, you're going to catch the side of the building. If you're looking down, essentially the out, you're going to catch the front of the building a little bit. But the view shed is pretty limited. This is wetlands here, and this is Andiamo right here, and Fishbones is up here. So other aspects of the site plan that we've developed, I want to make sure you guys can hear me. We've also met with Center Village, and we've also certainly read through the Center Village plan, and with the experience of Gristmill, we are providing a brick walk. The brick walk would connect because we're not, even if we took the addition off the building, the property line basically touches the building at this corner. Right here. So even if we took the addition off, we couldn't get the brick walk by, and we're not really sure how we would even do it topographically and get it to be, So essentially, we're crossing the road in front of Artisans Exchange. We're coming up past Oddfellows. We're going to take a right onto the new brick sidewalk along the patio. You're going to pass the Oddfellows building. You're going to take a right through the parking lot and basically get on the brick walk. And what we're doing here is we're looking for a similar treatment than what we did on the Gristmill, which was compacted crusher fines. Because the pavement isn't this close to the brick today, the only way to do it this close to the brick would be to do it in a pervious material. So we're looking at doing it in a pervious material. If it can't be a pervious material, then we're going to have to shift the walk back essentially into the existing edge of pavement. The project incorporates pretty significant green space. We're actually 3,000 square feet more green space on this than the current way this lot stands today. Certainly we would provide an easement for the brick walk. We're looking at providing a pocket park or a place to rest off the brick walk. We've talked to Center Village. Certainly there's benches and lighting forms that have been approved in the Center Village that we'd look to incorporate here, very similar to what we incorporated at Gristmill. And basically provide those easements for future connections across the brook. So we're looking at basically extending that to the entire length of the property as far as we can to get past the building. All of our interior pedestrian connections connect around the new proposed multifamily building, connect to Oddfellows, to Fisk, to Santander, And that's to provide a cohesive plan. Essentially, this plan works as one plan because everyone needs access, everyone needs parking, everyone needs to be able to. We provide each of the uses adequate parking per the zoning bylaw, but if the bank closes at 5 o'clock, there's no saying that the people who are at the restaurant, if there's overflow, can park over there. If the office space closes at 5 o'clock, the people from the restaurant can park over there. We have 2 spaces per unit for the multifamily, and we have 1 per 5 spaces for visitors. Multifamily is not allowed the reduction in the center village that other uses are required to have. So all of the residential aspects of this meet the bylaw 100%. The restaurant and the commercial aspects, the office aspects of this shall be 50% of that's what's required, and we have 3 spaces in addition to what's required by the zoning bylaw. This is the yield plan. This is new. We just prepared this based on the feedback that we heard through the last project that came through under the Center Village District. So what we've provided here is a yield plan, similar to the yield plan that was provided for the other project that was recently before you. But what we looked at was essentially the footprint of where the multifamily building sits on the proposed property. I didn't go overly crazy with this because this is 32 units. And we're not seeking any additional units back here. So essentially the units in the medium-sized mixed-use building, that is Oddfellows, 8 units is what's allowed in that building. We're doing commercial uses in the Fisk House. Santander certainly exists there today. And this is, these are 4-unit buildings, 3-story. First floor is garage, second and third floors are multifamily units with parking in the garage and parking exterior. This parking plan meets all of the other uses out there too, so I'm not putting units everywhere and not meeting the parking for the restaurant, or if we were to develop this as a restaurant, if the Fisk House were to be off and the Santander were to exist, this would have to look like this too. So essentially this is the yield plan that we hope meets your requirements under kind of the new policy of the planning board to show the density. Certainly the density is well within the area calculation you would do. We have 3.5 acres here. So we only need about 54,000 square feet to do 32 units at the 5,600 per 2 plus 1,800 per every one thereafter. But we're not looking to do that here. We will be having to go to, certainly, we'll come back to planning board with a full package, Conservation Commission, Historical Commission, and we have to go back to Historic District Commission because they want to see all the other elements of the site, which we've yet to develop. So we're here tonight seeking applicability under the CVOD so that we may get to work on those details.
Very good.
I think that's it.
All right. With that being said, anybody want to chime in? I'd like to just throw one comment in. We've pretty much gone through everything that is here across the street on the other one as far as the applicability part of it goes. It's basically the same thing, just to everybody keep in mind of, we've already done it once, so
I rehash it.
Yeah.
why reinvent the wheel? Well, anybody else want to chime in? Go ahead.
Yeah, chime in.
Get some questions.
I don't have questions, but I do have a comment. But first, I'd like to commend you on a really nice layout and reuse of historic
this is-
buildings. It's incredibly appreciated that your
32
plans
units.
take into consideration the historic nature of the district. My one comment would be that I'm not seeing where a 5-story building with 1 story underground is the same thing as a 5-story building with all 5 stories above ground. And I probably won't be inclined to go with 5 stories above ground. But other than that, it looks great. And I'm not seeing any other particular light bulbs.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
So I was there on that Saturday, Katie, with you, and thank you for that. That was a cold day. Well, we had few of them this year, but that was really cold that day. And thanks for laying out the lot. I think it's a great project. I think just a couple of questions that I had, I think I even talked to you that day about it, was a couple of things that I'm concerned about that you should just be aware of, is parking for the restaurant. I think where the parking for this restaurant here, I think you're anticipating using the CVS lot for overflow, and that's a private lot as well. It just seemed like that. I know there's a future walkway that goes down the back. I mean, if that's the case, it would be nice to see that walkway included in this project.
Right here.
How often does that area flood right now? I mean, 'cause I know it's 100-year, but we've
Yeah.
hit a lot of storms lately in the industry, and that 100-year flood has been maximized right now.
Yeah.
It's just that it seems kind of odd that you're building in a floodplain that does flood. And I think it floods every year. There's water in that area. So, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have not witnessed it flood the parking lot, but I can certainly ask people who've been around a lot
Just,
longer
I mean,
than
it's
me
just-
to see how often it does. But this type of development is certainly done everywhere. As far as, and what we'll have to do is we'll have to provide cut fill calculations to the Conservation Commission and DEP related to the fact that we're not filling anything within the floodplain and pushing the water somewhere else. We're also going to upgrade all the stormwater, and we're not allowed to put living spaces down there. So, and we would look to incorporate certainly flood vents and the like. So there will be vehicles down there, and they will be, people will be essentially notified to move their cars during flooding events.
And we've done this before.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's just, that's new to me, so just seeing that piece of it. But I think, I like the plan. I think it's great. I think it's a good utilization of existing buildings, and it's awesome. Just concerned, my concern will be in the next phase is the parking. How are we gonna solve that issue? And it came up at one of our last meetings was that the town is at capacity sewer line, Evan, so I don't know how that plays a role in this development as well. So those are only the concerns that I have written down here, and you've addressed a few already. Otherwise, I think it's a great project. Thank you.
I gotta say, I think it looks pretty good. I have some of the same concerns about height I think we're learning from the last several projects that we've done that there's a sensitivity to the height of these things. Well, we can talk about that, but it certainly strikes me that this is within the VCOD. And I think at this stage of the game, that's the important consideration. I like that you chose, if I understood what you showed, you've got the Oddfellows building going back to a late Queen Anne, early stick layout. One thing I would say is one of those pictures had a very nice widow's walk on the top. You might want to add that back, and I'd cut you some slack for 3 feet of little picket fence up there, but yeah, that's a nice shot at, when was that building built, about 1888 or something like that?
It says 1900 on assessors, but the architect would know better.
Yeah, I think it's a little older. I think it's that just says 1888 all over it. So that's nice. You might want to do the same thing on the building in the back. However high it winds up being, you could probably do the same thing on the back. Parking's going to be the big issue. We're going to be talking about that tonight a little bit later. I mean, that's a bigger issue than that just this project, and I think we all recognize that. We're going to have to figure out how we're going to park all these folk. I gather you're not really changing the amount of parking, you're just moving a bunch of it underneath. Is it about the same total? Yeah, I can
We
keep seeing
we actually have more spaces. We have
Right,
about
maybe.
7 more spaces.
Yeah,
than
that's
today.
okay. So you're same ballpark, but I'm glad you were able to expand it a little bit. I hate to see that little building behind Fisk go, but I'm not sure what on earth it's useful for. You can move it over to my house. I might just, if you could pick it up, I might take it. Okay, that's it for now.
Tim?
Just like the rest of them, I like the design of it. One of the only concerns I think too would be the parking. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna fit all the cars down there if the restaurant's full and everything else is full, but as far as applicability, I think, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Hank?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I'm glad you breathed a new life into the Oddfellows house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And,
that's big.
I'm sure we're gonna figure out the park and the town's gonna, I think there's some few parcels in the center that they should be looking at. But, my only concern is the traffic, and I'm guessing it's gonna be the same as Gristmill, like a couple hundred trips a day, or?
So we will be doing a traffic study as part of this development, just because of all the different
gonna be needed.
uses, and
I'm
that'll,
comparing it with Gristmill, because
right.
it's kind of the same.
No, the traffic will be the same from the multifamily, but just the combination of uses, our plan is to provide you with a traffic study, which will also speak to the parking count, and although it meets the bylaw, how the parking lot will be utilized.
And I still echo Mike's sewer, concerns, because I know we're at capacity, and, what we're gonna do with it.
Get your permit from this sewer people as fast as you can.
Yeah, they have known about, so just to kind of go back, they've known about this project, the DPW has for about
Yeah.
as long as I have, because we're completely redoing a trunk line that actually goes through this site to get
okay.
it around the proposed building. So those plans have been preliminary in nature, but that was a big step into seeing what this project could be redeveloped. So that's been in discussions for quite some time.
One other question. I have been assuming, and maybe I shouldn't, that the basic traffic flow in and out of this whole chunk of land here will be roughly the same as it is now. It'll be the same. So you could come in from Boston Road. I suppose you could exit there too, but people don't a lot, and exit up on Billerica.
Essentially, if the traffic study allows us to get in and out here, we
Yeah.
will. But right now, this is in, this is out, and this is in and out.
Okay.
And it's essentially, this is the same, this is the same, this is the same. So
All
we're
right,
not, we're
so-
not trying to reinvent the wheel.
No big surprises.
Yeah.
One question.
Yeah.
Is Katie, just a question, is Gristmill fully occupied now?
No. How many units are left?
We have 17 closed
Okay.
out of 32.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I was gonna ask is how's the traffic issue? I mean.
I haven't
we
seen a
don't know yet.
problem.
You don't even seem to notice it.
No, I don't think so. I think
And
that
I
was a
don't
big
think
concern.
Honestly,
by
I think
everybody.
you have more traffic from the brick house.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
I know.
Any
I'm-
questions?
My thoughts on it, I like the project, I think it's gonna do good there. Height-wise, where it sits down in a hole, I think you're 100% spot on that, that your perception of it, it isn't gonna look as tall as it seems. Until you get right down next to it, then it'll look tall, but from the center, I don't think I think it's gonna look fine down in that hole. So, with that being said, I think we can probably
Make
Do
a
the finding
motion?
tonight?
do the finding tonight, and Kevin can write up a,
Yeah, I think from a applicability point of view, I think we're spot on. I think there's a lot of work to do at the other side of that.
yeah, it gives them a chance to
Okay.
get going on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Have at it.
I move that we make a finding of VCOD applicability to the 44 Central Square, 1 Billerica Road project.
A second.
We get a second from Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Great.
Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Henry coming back?
we're gonna wait and get, Henry
Here he
down the
comes.
back
It's
now.
coming back.
Was he doing the wiring up there or something?
All right.
That's all right.
There you go.
All right, what do we got next? We got new business, Center Village parking discussion.
Yeah, let's get this one
Yeah,
underway.
let's roll
This
this
is a,
one.
is this something that you got a
Is there something on this?
a little plan on, or?
I don't have anything.
You got
This was
nothing,
something
okay.
that
You don't?
I believe you mentioned you wanted to talk about at the next meeting.
Yeah, but I thought that we had asked you to have the folks that were looking at, that had done some studies on it to
Oh,
come in and
so,
talk to us.
Oh, so Center Village obviously is not here tonight. They were scheduled to meet this past Tuesday and did not meet. So their next meeting is scheduled for the 20th, next week.
So I think that's a concern, because one of the things that we had discussed at our last meeting was if we felt that there was a need to in any way modify that 50% reduction because of the current state of parking downtown, that we needed to do that, like, now.
I'm not sure.
What's our window?
I'm not sure what the urgency is.
Well, what will happen is projects will get
We'll
put in
continue to be
place, they will get built,
Which
And-
projects?
And then it's.
and any projects in the center. And
Yeah.
at the
Are you-
50%,
The tipping point's gonna be the one we just discussed.
I think it
It
is.
is too.
And, because you go
So
there on a
even
Saturday
if,
night right now,
even
it's
if you
booked.
were to, well, so you have a couple challenges.
Yeah.
One is, I believe the Board of Selectmen is scheduled to sign the spring warrant at their, I want to say is their first meeting in March. And we haven't drafted anything.
Yeah.
Nor have we researched anything. Setting that aside, you know, I'm not disagreeing with you with the project that you heard presented this evening. But that one likely will have to present solutions to you to satisfy your concerns. Moving forward,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you guys envision significant demolition in the center and reconstruction,
There
Pretty
aren't a
well
lot of
built
I
other
mean, what kind,
options.
how much more
Buildings
square
are old.
footage is a center going, retail, commercial, is the center going to have moving forward?
There's opportunities down there for them to share spaces with other places.
Oh,
You
of
know, the
course,
Brick
yeah.
House was a perfect example to how during off hours, I mean, they've got a church nearby there that they could probably do something with, who knows? There's another
Right,
building on the
right.
corner, there's things that they can do
Yeah.
if they're good neighbors.
Yeah, we've done that in the past with
Yeah.
Right.
different things that they've gone and shown that they signed a lease with somebody and they can run a shuttle back and forth or whatever and.
Church in North Chelmsford, we did
I mean,
the same thing.
my suggestion would be, and I think the board was kind of heading in this direction, is see what kind of solutions can be achieved with this project.
Yeah.
I think you guys are aware of some of them. Valet may be an option. There could be shared private parking. These are, I think everything other than valet, the board has experienced. And valet for this particular restaurant may be an option.
Be appropriate.
There may be nearby churches or other private properties that are outside
Yeah.
the immediate center that are within, valet distance. I could understand if we were creating a new center, and the 50% reduction was not as good starting point.
But what, I got a question, what stops us from looking at the parking? Even for the fall or a year from now?
Sure.
We should start the process, because I think this next project is gonna be the tipping point, and I'm worried about what the next project is. Because there's no left, if you go there right now on a Saturday night, Evan, that parking lot where I think they're looking for overflow, on the previous project we just looked at, that parking lot is full.
Which parking lot?
The CVS parking lot, that
So
lot.
so they don't have any rights to use a CVS
No, they
parking lot?
know
don't,
they
but then they would have to be negotiated by somebody.
But they're trying to put
Yeah,
a pedestrian
but it's
walk
already
towards it.
full.
They're trying to.
They're not gonna be doing any of that. If you look at their plan, they're not
existing plan.
proposing to do that.
No, I know that, so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't know where, they may valet, they talked about the
Yeah.
church, all that. It's just the next project
Yeah,
that comes from
no, I
us
agree with you. I think you
is
should
gonna
look
be a
at it.
bottleneck.
I'm not suggesting that you should have a knee-jerk reaction and submit a zoning article for Springtown meeting.
No, maybe we just do a study somehow.
Sure, yeah.
Even if it gets ready for the fall, or even
Sure.
a year from now.
Yeah,
for
you always
spring.
need to be exploring and
Be
being one step
proactive.
ahead. Absolutely.
I don't know if there's anything in
50%.
town, if there's any other area in
I
town.
agree with Evan, though,
The
too.
50
I don't think it's something that we have to do now.
No, I
to-
mean-
No, I
No, I
don't
don't
think
think there's
we
any
don't-
other,
When we rush things through town meeting,
Right.
it never goes well.
it doesn't go well at
No,
all.
but are there any other interest parties that are in town looking to do something of this nature on other properties?
The only remaining vacant property that the board has not heard a proposal on is the former mobile property.
And that's,
That's still owes, Mobile still owns it,
Small to
right?
do
No,
anything.
no, Rudy, who operated the mobile, owns the property. He also owns the white multi-family building in the back. Rudy intends, he still is committed to and interested in retaining ownership and redeveloping that property. It's just something that he continues to work towards. I think, editorially, Rudy's probably waiting to see how these other projects play out before he comes up with his own proposal.
That building, the white building that he owns, the one behind it,
Yeah.
is that historic?
oh,
It's,
yeah,
yeah, age is historic, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting when it tries, because when I looked into that, the size of the lot there at the point wouldn't support anything. And unless he merges the lots, which he could. So I think there's some big
Yeah.
questions about whether that can even be
It
developed.
can accommodate development, scope and scale is,
Yeah, like,
you know, it's
Yeah.
not going to be anything similar to what you're seeing right now.
I would say it's about enough space there for 3 large bushes.
Right, right, and so,
Size building on it.
so
Did.
Center Village,
Looked pretty ugly.
Center Village has discussed
Yeah.
looking for additional municipal parking. They want to continue to discuss that. They've identified maybe there's an opportunity to install some additional on-street parking. When they found out about the closing of Westford Street in front of the church around the
Yep.
Common, that was intriguing to them. They wanted to explore whether there was opportunity to create some additional on-site parking, on-street parking there. They were interested in seeing how, what interest churches may have on certain nights of the week. And that seems to have different opinions depending on who you speak to. And then they also want to explore some of the other options, shared parking, private agreements, things of that nature. So I agree with you. It's worthy of exploring, researching, and continuing to be, you know, a step ahead.
Who's that fall under? Does that fall under the Center
I think,
Village?
well, I think it's a
to
combination. I think
study?
you had a good idea. Have them come in, you know, both boards can discuss it. You know, I will say that our center's not like other centers where we have a municipal parking management plan, right? We don't have garages, we don't have meters, we don't even have any municipal lots in the vicinity. And again, based upon the scope and scale, I don't necessarily see another Fishbones or another restaurant locating in the center. So the center, as far as, you know, new commercial square footage,
It's pretty
it
limited.
may,
for-
it's
for
pretty
options.
maxed.
you know, maybe over the years,
Until
Summer
Jack
Street could
Hanley
go
decides
upwards.
to close,
Yeah.
close shop, then.
but
Yeah,
don't dismiss the private sector finding solutions when they need to find solutions. And what I mean by that is, you know, in lieu of the town creating a municipal lot or creating some sort of, you know, employee parking permit, you know, things of that nature, which we can pursue those things. The private sector usually figures it out. And what I mean by that is if there's a business that needs more parking, they either go to their landlord and say, find me more parking or I'm leaving. Or they work out agreements, valet, or they tell their employees to park off-site. And I did send you a part of the parking study for the Center Village. And we know that many of the employees who work in these businesses park as close to their place of employment as possible. So we have not reached the point yet where business owners are requiring their employees to park off-site satellite. So a lot of it is perception, and then, you know, the users to how they actually utilize the parking is something that may need to be explored as well.
Thank you.
All right, that's good for that. We got one thing of minutes here.
So just before you jump to minutes, I did send the board the annual Citizen Planner Conference, Holy Cross, in March. So similar to past years, if you're interested, register, pay for it, and submit for reimbursement. I've also sent that to the zoning board members as well. And then just for schedule moving forward, our next regularly scheduled meeting is the 26th. Did I hear some people won't be able to attend that?
I think I'm leaving on the 26th. It might be the 27th, but I think it's the 26th.
Okay, so you may not be here.
May not be here.
Okay. What about March 11th and the 25th?
I'm back by then.
Anybody else?
I'm around.
March 11th, I'm away for
I'm here.
March 11th to the 17th or.
Okay. 25th.
Come back with that
It
all
should
over
be around,
town.
but who the heck knows?
Yep. Okay, and then just a couple other updates. I'm sorry these aren't on the agenda. The Master Planning Committee published the survey. That survey was published, I believe, this past last Friday. We're getting excellent response rate right now. That survey deadline is open until Friday, March 13th. And then the Master Plan Committee has scheduled their first public input session for Thursday, March 19th. It will be at the Senior Center, and it will focus on land use, zoning, economic development, and housing.
We better be there.
So I'll provide more updates to you as we get closer to that. But again, that's, survey deadline is Friday, March 13th, and the first public input session is Thursday, March 19th at the Senior Center.
Evan, any other activities coming forward soon? Future projects that are coming on that we have to be here for?
On the, you'll have UPS will be at an upcoming meeting. That's a parking lot expansion.
Okay.
There's no others that come to mind.
All right. Yeah, if I can put a plug in for the citizen planner stuff, which I've done, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and found it very useful. And it's a nice way to spend a Saturday morning, early afternoon, and the munchies are good. So it's down at it's usually down at Holy Cross. So
Nice, all right. Minutes. Everybody reviewed them already? Everybody good with them?
I shall move that we approve the minutes of November 13th, 2019.
Second.
Give it a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That does that. Let me just check the list here. I think we got one more motion to make.
You want to do it, or shall I?
Go ahead.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
All right.
Nice.
Excellent.